Well, what's up, you beautiful people? This is Gary Horn, and this is the NWA, the podcast celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time. Of course, we're talking about the National Wrestling Alliance that represented heavily today on UWN's Prime Time Live, and this is the UWN Prime Time Live post show. We're going to be talking to you about everything you just saw or you missed and you want to catch up. That's what we're here to do. And I am joined, as always, by my life partners, the Dr. Robert Stinson. Hello, Doc.
What's up, man?
All right, just played it cool. I like that. Okay. And then, of course, as always, the Dreamboat, Will Martin.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh, man, guys, we've got a lot to talk about, and I'm sure we're eventually going to get to it. I still want to kind of walk through the show, but just know out there that the kingdom of Monrovia weeps on this eve, but a nation celebrates at the same time. I mean, if you were looking, the real battle tonight, there was lots to talk about. What kind of debate, what kind of discussion was going on? Of course, the debate I'm referring to is Aron Stevens or Trevor Murdoch. We got an answer tonight. Now, there were other debates on, by the way, and some of you may have watched it and felt hopeless. Like, what's going to happen with our country? Well, guess what? Trevor Murdoch is your national champion, and America is saved. So, I'm sorry for Doc Stinson, who's decked out in his third degree Mongrovian karate gi, but anyway, we'll get to that though. I don't want to rub it in on the poor Doc right now. Guys, let's start right off the top. What's your overall thoughts here of the show? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. Where were you guys at?
I was very much thumbs in the middle. It's hard to give a thumbs up to anything after last week. Just that women's world's title match, it set the bar really high, and it was a good show. And I think if you had reordered the shows and maybe this was the first show or something like that, it would have been great. But last week was just such a wild ride. I knew it wasn't gonna really stack up to that, but overall, I thought it was a good show. I mean, nothing crazy. I mean, we didn't have glitches or anything, obviously, again, so that was great. But, it was a good wrestling show. But, again, last week was just, over the top.
There were parts of this show, like last week, that I give a resounding thumbs up to, and then there are other parts I was a little more indifferent. I'm not going to be as critical or outspoken in our criticism because, I don't want to get scolded by gentleman Jervis Cottonbelly again in his gentlemanly way like he did. But there were some parts that really didn't set well with me as a prize fight wrestling fan. But there were other parts of the show that were just sublime, man. I mean, I know we're going to get into all that. Overall, it was a positive show. I noticed on my end, I did notice a lot of sound issues. I don't know if that came across to y'all. I noticed a lot of times when the announce team would cut out, you could hear them kind of talking in the studio. And then I noticed there were times when May Valentine was interviewing that her sound was out, especially the first interview with Allysin Kay. She came on, you couldn't really hear her. But other than that, I mean, the stream was great, and there were positives and negatives to the show.
Yeah, I don't think I noticed many sound issues. I will say, the first introduction of May Valentine backstage, I definitely did hear it there with Allysin Kay, I think, at the very beginning of that. But otherwise, I don't think, I heard anything necessarily that stood out. Michael Leonard saying it was probably that backwoods Georgia internet. But well, let's take it easy on Rob up top here, because Rob's got plenty to answer for as we go on in the show. But fellas, if you're ready, I say we just dive into this thing and talk about it and run down the card here. So this is the third United Wrestling Network's Prime Time Live, and it of course was at the commentators table. We had Todd Kennelly and Alyssa Marino, and this time joined by Blake Bulletproof Troop, who sat with them the entire show. So I don't know if there's going to be like a rotating third man, if that's a thing they're going to be doing. But I still have to say that I was all on board just up top with Alyssa Marino and Todd Kennelly again. Like they win me over every week. I really like the two of them on commentary, and not just because they put us over either.
Oh yeah, I mean, there was again same things that I've mentioned the past couple of weeks, but there was just so much context given by the two of them for a lot of the UWN guys that I wasn't super familiar with, and the ladies as well, that really helped me buy into the match even more, even though it was my first time seeing them. So that is an invaluable part of commentary, in my opinion, and they once again knocked that out of the park.
Yeah, I think a big part of commentating is building narrative and providing context, like you guys said. So they would throw in these little tidbits of information, like, someone being a 20-year veteran, or someone being a former Super 8 tournament winner, or the longest reigning Shimmer champion ever. Just little things like that add so much flavor and so much importance to this. They're a great commentary team, man. No joke. They're one of the real bright spots of all of UWN so far.
And if you stuck around long enough, they had live mics after the show went off the air.
Man, I was in there listening.
Somebody's headset.
We about to get in here, man.
I had to hear it all before I jumped on. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I mean, I'm not above hearing some gossip. So I left it also
like,
Todd
and Alyssa. Guys, I was like, hell no.
The mics were still on. Luckily, I mean, for them, I don't know. Todd Kennelly, for all I know, could be a huge dick, but he sounded like the nicest person in the world with the mic was on. Just like, great job, everybody. I think we did excellent. And Alyssa sounded very professional. And turns out they're actually having a nice working relationship, it seems like, and not just like an Anchorman situation or something as soon as the camera turns off. But anyway, I do love the one thing I noted about them this time was Alyssa just doing I talked to them before the match backstage. I just love that aspect of it. They treat it very seriously, as it should be. And that's what I think we love about wrestling and what we want them to do. Like, let's treat this like an actual contest. And I think both of them do a great job at that. Todd Kennelly actually adding this new flavor, and maybe you guys have heard this before, but I have not. I mean, it's obviously in MMA, they talk a lot about the fighters' training camps that they go to. And Todd was referring to like even the schools, like the wrestling schools, like when Ruby Reyes, I think, was out there, and they're talking about she works for it just slipped my mind, but wherever it was, like her camp or whatever. I thought that was kind of neat. All right. Santino Brothers, by the way. Sorry, it was going to drive me crazy if I could not remember that. All right, but up top, we started off with the Real Buddy Brothers and SoCal Distancing. Well, actually, we opened up with the cool like little openings again, and I hope they do this every week. Maybe they were listening to us. But yeah, Real Buddy Brothers, SoCal Distancing, Nicole Savoy, Chris Dickinson. Not just the Dirty Daddy this week, the Filthy Father also. Maybe he said that before, but that was new to me. Aron Stevens and Trevor Murdoch. So I was pumped the second I heard Aron and Trevor talk. This was a one-match show for me, essentially, because I didn't know a lot of people. I wanted to see Allysin Kay make her return, and I wanted to see Trevor and Aron. I didn't think about the debates before this week, so I assumed that they did. So hopefully, however it did or didn't do tonight, they don't, they have to be aware, I guess. All right. I swear to God, I'm talking about the show now. Repo Rick leads out the Real Buddy Brothers, which is Big Buddy Clutch and R&B Suge versus SoCal Distancing, Adrian Quest and Uptown Andy Brown. I thought it was a good opener. A lot of athleticism. I was happy to see R&B be more rough and tumble, like what we were kind of hoping for last week. It's the first time we've seen people back-to-back weeks, I think, and except to Chris Dickinson appearing backstage or something. But yeah, man, I just love R&B as a team. I think they've got some cool moves, like that elevation into a flatliner that they do, and like the 40-ounce bouts and the COD, the concussion on delivery. Like that's cool tag team stuff. I dig that. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Formerly Static, now known as SoCal Uncensored, gets the win. Adrian Quest hits the Phoenix Splash for the 1-2-3, retaining the Heritage Tag Team Championships. What do you guys think about this match, Will?
Yeah, so you're right, man. Solid tag team opener. Love a good tag match. Definitely more of what we wanted to see from them. The Real Money Brothers that we didn't really get to see in full effect last week, and just much more of a technical, kind of brawl tag team match. A lot of those spots were really cool. My one pet peeve, and this might be really nitpicky of me, and I promise I'm not going to be like this all night, but and I think it was at the very end, that Phoenix Splash, you could see the guy on the floor getting into position very obviously. And so that was the only downside to me. And that kind of goes back to what Rob talks about a lot, about just the authenticity and the realism in the ring. And when you see a guy getting in position, and I get it, I respect that. I know they do that for safety, and so things happen, but it took me out of it a little bit in the finish. But other than that, yeah, it was a great hard hitting match.
Rob?
Yeah, everything that Will said. I have been intrigued by SoCal distancing. What did you call them earlier, just a second ago, Gary?
I don't know. That's what I was wondering. I see in the chats the front row is correcting us that it's their SoCal distancing. I thought that's what I called
SoCal enforcement or something like that. I was like, what's going on?
Well, there used to be. I mean, I said Static. They were the team Static before they just broke
you
up,
said
right?
Something after that, though, you said like SoCal, but that's neither here nor there. This was a team that used to have among its ranks Ray Rusas, who is now the Heritage Champion. He earned that belt from Watts just a couple of weeks ago on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. What is that? Oh, so yeah, you call it SoCal Uncensored.
That's what it was. Yeah. Well, that's an honest mistake. Come on.
Hey, man, hey.
I mean, when you're as much of an AEW mark as Gary is, that's going to happen.
Right. You know it's not happening.
No, man, I thought it was a pretty good match. I kind of like the Real Money Brothers. I like them. They got kind of they got sort of an Eddie Kingston vibe to them. I don't know if that's just me. You feel that, Will?
Yep.
So I'm hoping big for things for them. But I mean, the SoCal distancing team, man, they're well oiled. They function like a tag team. They look like they know each other really well, and I thought it was a pretty good match.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, Rob.
We're here for you, buddy.
Just trying to, why not start off awkward? Next up, we get a Trevor Murdoch interview. Just pretty straightforward. I want to apologize up front to all the people working backstage. I missed every single name of every interviewer backstage that wasn't May Valentine.
Clint Armstrong. Clint Armstrong.
Clint Armstrong. Okay.
I think that's
he had Trevor Murdoch up there and basically ask him the strategy, which, by the way, is always, I feel like, the worst question to ask. No offense. I'm sure that he was just doing his job. But, Trevor Murdoch's going to say, well, I fully intend to, try to take him down early, get him on the ground. I'm going to work his leg a little bit and then, just lay out the entire game plan. Instead, though, Trevor Murdoch's above all that. He just says, I'm going to do the same thing I do every time. I'm going to step in, kick ass, move on. And I just, God dang it, I love Trevor Murdoch. Just always have, ever since he's shown back up in NWA. He's just the best. Just a big old teddy bear. Anyway. I'm just saying, you get me Trevor Murdoch and Hammerstone in a ring together. I'm just going to.
You are marking out for Trevor Murdoch more than I have ever in my life marked out for Nick Aldis. I have never thought Nick Aldis was a teddy bear, although he is. He is. You are marking out right now, boy.
Whatever. I'm just saying. Love me some Trevor. All right, let's talk about the 86er Remy Marcel versus the Greek god Papadon. This match, I'd never heard of either one of these guys, so they were both new to me. And the shoulder holster while wrestling was a unique look for me. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So shoulder holster versus the self-proclaimed greatest wrestler alive. I believe that is what Alyssa said about him. For me, it was a great change of pace, just like last week. I mean, it's like these guys over here have put on a wrestling card before. So they got you with the tag team match, and then they go like a little change in the, first match had the more athletic stuff, and this was more technical wrestling. I dug Papadon. He seemed to have some great stuff. I liked his he had like a snap float over suplex that I really thought was cool, and of course that big pile driver that he dropped at the end. So nothing's off limits in UWN, I guess. And I loved. I did also note that Alyssa here made the reference that she maybe I'm also marking out for Alyssa that she said Papadon left him in ruins like the Parthenon. And I was like, wow, that is something. I appreciate that. So, needless to say, winner, Greek god Papadon. Rob, what do you think of these guys?
Man, freaking physical match right here. One, I got a few notes, if I may, if you will indulge me here. I noticed that they first of all they call them GGP, which I thought was I don't know. I just like. It is what it is. I guess.
Okay.
Former tournament winner. They provide lots of context again, like the commentators ought to. We learned that he is a 20-year veteran, and we learned that he is. Well, we see that he's very, very vocal in the ring. I mean, he's talking to Remy Marcel like he's trash. I mean, how dare you desecrate my sport? Calls him sunshine multiple times. There's the mention at the end of "In God I Trust," I guess a reference to himself and all that. But then the commentary and insight we have on Remy Marcel, they kept going on and on about being a changed man. He's now the 86er, which they tell us, out in the desert, it means you drive 8 miles out of town and bury them 6 feet below the ground. And he's the 86er, and you could see with the holster and the whole gang motif he was playing. And that he changed his persona. What's that?
How do you know he was playing?
I don't know he was playing. I mean, evidently, we learned that when he was in China and he saw the darker side of the sport, that he embraced that 86er persona and all that. So what really sold this match for me at the end, and I love seeing big guys fight because I just think it's believable, like Will says. I mean, a big guy going in there and pulverizing somebody. That clothesline at the end that spent Remy Marceau around like about 8 times, and then just a devastating pile driver. Again, I thought the same thing. Evidently, this is legal here. Wow, what a powerful, emphatic ending. And this is a guy who is going to be a force just because he's big and powerful, and obviously he's very vocal in that when you've got that ability and you can talk and all that kind of stuff, then you've got the makings of putting the full package together. So
I got to tell you, in the service industry, 86 is like you're out of something. Like we're 86 French fries or something like that, So I'd always heard that term. So when he gave the educational where 86 came from, I was not aware of that. And now I also wonder if that's in like restaurants as well. Is that why it's called 86? Is because of murdering people in Las Vegas? I have never known that. It's just always a thing I've said. So anyway, Will.
Yes, Gary, it's the same as French fries. I thought this was a great match. Like Rob, I'm a big fan of just 2 heavyweights going at it, and was believable. The trash talking I like, but I probably could have done with like 75% of what they were doing. And that's just me being nitpicky again. I was thoroughly impressed with them. Didn't love the shoulder holster gimmick, but that is not something that impedes my ability to enjoy and recognize the fact that this was a great wrestling match. And these 2 guys are both incredible wrestlers. I definitely want to see more of both of them. And yeah, I thought it was excellent. It was a great match.
Yeah, the thing with the talking and stuff, I think that my thought was everybody's like amping it up a little bit. They're like turning it up to 11 when they talk and that sort of thing, because they've got to be louder since there's no crowd or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe Papadon's just naturally loud, and so he thought he had to even amp it up even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's two angry guys that hate each other. It's believable that they would be yelling at each other like that. I mean, if they were meeting each other in the back alley behind a bar and were going at it, they'd probably be yelling at each other too. So I like it. I think it's believable. It's authentic. It adds, especially to the empty arena, like you mentioned, it just gives a little more depth and doesn't make it feel like two guys fighting in a quiet room. So I think it's a nice touch.
I think the vocalization too is kind of a feature of the empty arena style. You know, when silence is deadly in the empty arena. So if you don't have a lot of racket in the ring and the percussion from the ring and the ropes and that kind of thing, the mat, then you're going to have to add some vocalization. So that's probably where a lot of that comes from. And you see this with personalities that we don't typically think of being very vocal in the ring. Like last week when we saw Priscilla Kelly and Thunder Rosa wrestle. Thunder Rosa is usually all business, but she was very vocal as well. But I'm with Will, actually. I mean, I thought the vocalization was great, but I could have done with probably 25% less. I don't like the calling him Sunshine. I thought that was kind of a little demeaning for a guy who's a credible performer. But, it's just part of it. This me being nitpicky too. So
maybe he really likes Sunshine, Rob.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, Sunshine's a good thing.
For most people, not Rob.
Yeah.
All right. So, Chris Dickinson, you want to talk about weird things? Like if you think liking Sunshine's weird, Chris Dickinson, he's the guy who learns to love the taste of shit, and so he got free. He got like a free pass on using the word shit. I think Chris Dickinson, just like I have apparently, but. He cuts a pretty solid promo. I mean, again, I never know where to land with this guy because he's very much coming across as like obnoxious. Like you kind of want to see, like he rubs me the wrong way in all the right ways, if that makes sense. I think one of our people at Discord said that Will stop looking at me like that.
I mean,
I'm just saying I think he grates my nerves, but he's supposed to grate my nerves. But also he's talking about things that like, well, we entered a feud with Gentleman Jervis last week. So he's also in a feud with Gentleman Jervis, apparently, or at least talking a lot of trash about Gentleman Jervis. So he talks about wanting pro wrestling and competition. So it's like not a very heelish thing. Like he seems like he just wants to fight and wants to win and that sort of thing. He's not necessarily doing anything heelish in the ring, I guess, is what I'm thinking, except just being super aggressive. All that out of the way, he's given this whole talk, and the Neon Phenomenon comes out. This is Anthony Idol, and he says that, you could try to just drag yourself down to basics, essentially, but I'm not going to be just plain old wheat toast. I'm out here. I'm flashy, too, but I can get it done in the ring. And they talk a bunch of trash, and they decide they want to head out and hash it out right now. So they do. And it's a good match. It's a solid big man match, kind of a Haas fight feel. And, of course, with Dickinson ending up getting the win, he's like very much vibing the Ultimate Warrior when he comes out, I feel like. Like he's got that music, that like fast-paced music, and then he's got kind of this aggressive, the way he breathes and kind of handles himself. Not as insane as the Ultimate Warrior, but maybe you get what I'm saying. Anyway, Dickinson Valley Driver gets the 1-2-3. Not short work of Idol, but short enough work of Idol that Dickinson still looks pretty dominant and yelling in the camera to Corrigan and Marquez, "This ain't it. This ain't the competition I'm talking about." Will, what are you feeling about the Filthy Father?
I thought it was great. I'm kind of like you. I teeter the line of loving him and hating him because some of the stuff he says I can really get behind. But, I think where this is going, and we've speculated about this, but he's kind of moving through these different guys. And I think eventually, inevitably, hopefully, and maybe, he's going to end up saying those things to someone like a Nick Aldis. And then that's going to rub us the wrong way because he has no right to say that to a Nick Aldis. And that's when he's going to be full heel. And that's where all this will kind of manifest and crescendo into perhaps a world's title match or a feud of some sort like that. So that's where my mind's at. So, I'm not.
That's a good thought. I could even see it with like a Trevor that same way working.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're kind of at the ground floor right now, and we're seeing kind of entry level Chris Dickinson, and I think it's going to evolve, and I think they're doing a good job of telling the story.
Yeah, I mean, we have this sort of Eddie Kingston metric that we measure people by when they're talking, and they express their anger and their struggle, and he's very believable. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think he's a long way from being in a conversation with Nick Aldis. I mean, he's not Mike Bennett. He's not, he's not that person yet. And just because you woke up one day and think you're a bad man doesn't make you one. And anybody can go, heck, I can go out there and huff and puff and yell and holler, and that doesn't make me, suitable to, or beating the neon phenomenon doesn't make me qualified to challenge Nick Aldis for the championship yet. Ultimately, I think that's what he's gunning for. But I think there are other steps to climb before we get to that point, and a Trevor Murdoch might be one. Of course, now Trevor Murdoch, his next sights are not going to be on a Chris Dickinson. It's going to be on Nick Aldis. Trust me, believe me, he's the number one contender now, and so that's where he's aiming. So I think Chris Dickinson has got some. He talked about eating shit for so long that he started like the taste of it. Well, he's going to have to do that for a little bit longer. Before he gets to be in that conversation. Because just because you come out there and have a couple of showings and are physical doesn't make you a world title contender. And this is no shade on him. He is physical, and he looks good, and he seems like he means business. But he's not ready to get in a Rolls Royce yet, which is what Nick Aldis is, and he's not ready to handle that. So we got some time before that. But there you go.
Yeah, he definitely seems like he wants to be tested, but yeah, for sure that's coming eventually. So yeah, there's potential here, and obviously they see something in him. I think we said this last week that he's going to be back again next week. So he's been on. I think he's been on every single one of these so far. So and he's going to keep that definitely alive.
It's definitely obvious that he is a central part of Primetime Live. I mean, he's the only character that's been there every week with the same gimmick. And
do y'all get a sense? Do you feel like they're? I don't want to get into like writing and all that because then you get into like kayfabe stuff like that, and I just want to be a fan, But do you get a sense that like they're trying to maybe build up something between he and Jervis Cottonbelly? The fact that he seems to be kind of preoccupied with him.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think that match is 100% going to happen. I mean, I would assume so because that's definitely like the focal point of his rage right now. It feels like that's his go-to example of the crap he doesn't like. Basically, is Jervis Cottonbelly.
He calls out three people by name, and that's it. And that's Jervis, David Marquez, and Billy Corgan. And that's it.
Well, he ain't ready for David Marquez in the ring, son. I can tell you that. So he's going to have to work his way up. So especially, I've heard that you only get David Marquez and Billy Corgan at the same time. It's handicap every time. So anyway, the Queen of Suplexes, Nicole Savoy, makes her UWN Prime Time debut against another lady making her Prime Time debut, Allysin Kay. And as Savoy, I'm not familiar with Savoy. This is apparently the second or third time, that they've faced each other. They've got one win on each other. I think they fought at Bloodsport, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I was going to say I was really happy to get one of our returning ladies for the first time in Allysin Kay, but technically two here because we get to see May Valentine is now a backstage interviewer. And so it's nice to see lovely May Valentine back. Welcome back, May. And she is just talking to the screen, but Allysin Kay wants an interview. It's a very awkward situation at first. Like Allysin Kay says, like, no, you can't talk. And I give them props here because she says you can't talk. And Allison's like, why? And she says, because they say you can't talk. And then they start fighting over the microphone. And anyway, Allysin works her way out to the ring. As they're working their way out, Todd Kinley lets us in on a little bit that there's apparently a order been put into place that Allysin Kay does not get the live mic. And it's funny. She's been saying that on Twitter, like, like, what are y'all going to do when I get a live mic or something like that? Because she's talked so much trash about Thunder Rosa. And apparently that's exactly why they don't want her having a live mic. So nice little side angle thing going on there. But good match between these two ladies. I put this on Twitter, but I didn't realize how much I missed Allysin Kay. But seeing her again just soothed my soul. I love watching her wrestle. She's fantastic in the ring. And this match was just really good technical wrestling between the two ladies, going and Allysin working that leg, which would play in later on in the match. She's just like Allysin just looking dominant and vicious. And this is where they first talk about the training camps that Nicole Savoy goes to. And the Allisons had all the time in the training camp. And Nicole just took this match last second because it was originally supposed to be Serena Deeb. Anyway, they end up with the leg injury coming into effect when Allysin goes for a bridge and Nicole just can't kick out. Allysin gets the 1, 2, 3 and wasting no time looking right into that hard cam and calling out Thunder Rosa from the ring, saying, don't think I'm not coming for your ass. And so that feud is still alive and well. Rob, what'd you think about seeing Allysin Kay back and Nicole Savoy and the whole deal?
I love Allysin Kay like you guys do. I think she's one of the key ingredients in the NWA recipe of success. I love her, man. She's important. She's critical. She is a former world's champion. She wants that belt back again, obviously, and I love seeing. It makes me feel like power again when we see the acknowledgement of Thunder Rosa and her calling Thunder Rosa out at the end, because I think we all would just kill to see that match again. Now, all these opponents that Thunder Rosa is wrestling, great opponents, man. Priscilla Kelly, Lindsay Snow, Miranda Gordy. We all want to see Camille. We all want to see Allysin Kay. I mean, this is a main event in anybody's book. I have become a fan of Nicole Savoy. I've read about her. I've never seen her in action before personally, but she held that Shimmer Championship, one of the most coveted women's titles, for the longest time of any person to ever live since the foundations of the world now. I mean, she's held it longer than anybody. Just to put it in perspective, today is the 711th day of the very historic reign of Nick Aldis. 711 days. That it's only happened 8 times in history, guys. Well, Nicole Savoy held that belt for 721 days before losing it. 17 successful title defenses. I think one of them might have been Priscilla Kelly in that list. I know there was a 4-way match. I don't really like 4-way matches with titles on the line, but anyway. And then you see that Savoy has a very technical style. She's skilled in jiu-jitsu. She's called the Queen of Suplexes. This is a woman who knows her stuff. She seemed to be actually, I think, Allysin Kay was a little more powerful and might be a little more fluid. But from a technical standpoint, it seemed like Nicole Savoy was bringing it, man. And I like this match. I mean, I'm not going to say it was my favorite match of the night, but it was very insightful. I'm a fan of Nicole Savoy now. I'm going to follow her, and I look to see more of her in the future. But what I really want to see is I want to see Thunder Rosa and Allysin Kay hook up again after with the gag order and all this stuff. Man, this is brewing up to be something special.
Yeah, they finally get like the rematch with some real heat behind it. That's going to be a lot of fun. But Will, what were you thinking about this one?
Yeah, I mean, the whole time I'm thinking about Allysin Kay versus Thunder Rosa, because that's what's planted in our minds, and that's the narrative that they're telling. I thought the pre-match interview was a little weird. I didn't really know what was going on at first, and then they did a commentary again. Props to commentary, did a great job of explaining it and kind of tying a bow on it. And I was like, oh, okay, I get that now. Now I see that. Only thing that could have maybe made that better is if they had set it up on commentary, and they said, "Hey, this Allysin Kay is backstage trying to talk. Let's cut back there," or something like that. But again, they kind of smoothed it over, and it wasn't really an issue. But the match as a whole, I mean, yeah, I don't think I'm as big of a fan as Nicole Savoy as Rob has become. But that comment that you mentioned about the Shimmer title put her over in my mind, just that comment, just because I know the prestige behind that, and just because I haven't followed it closely and was not aware of her or her history with that promotion, knowing just them dropping that comment instantly gave her credibility for me as a wrestling fan. So I thought that was great. It instantly made me buy into the match a little more and see her as, a credible opponent for someone as amazing as Allysin Kay. And, again, the big story here is where we're headed. When are we going to see AK and Thunder Rosa? That's what we all want to see. And you gotta know and believe it's going to happen, or they wouldn't be putting this much emphasis on it. So now it's just a question of when.
Let me piggyback on Will there for a second too about that Shimmer belt. And I know Brian Rose is in the chat, friend of the show, and he might have some insight in this. But when you think of that Shimmer Championship, it's up there. I mean, you think of the prize fight women's titles that really mean something. Obviously, you've got the NWA belt, the Burke, which is the most important, the AEW title that Hikaru Shida holds, and then you've got the Princess title and the Shimmer title. To me, those are that's like the Fab Four of women's championships, and for big fans of prize fighting. So, I mean, Nicole Savoy is the real deal, man, and hopefully we'll see more of her.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know that either, and that is really interesting. I liked her look and her style of wrestling and everything. I was into it, and for what it's worth, I think this is, I'm not 100% sure on Nicole, but I know with Allysin, I don't think I've seen her take any other matches since the pandemic began up until this one. So they're dealing with the just coming back and getting used to, not that they're not, practicing obviously. And Allysin Kay does a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and that sort of thing. So, I mean, they're not dealing with complete rust, but they're still coming back into the wrestling ring for the first time after a long time away. Contrast that with Thunder Rosa, who we've put over every show somehow. But you want to talk about, not only is she out there fighting every week, but you want to talk about strength of schedule. I mean, geez, it's not just pushovers that she's going up against. Rob mentioned that already, just the amount of challengers. But yeah, Allysin Kay definitely has been a great feud, but now they've had some time to build on it, I think. So getting those two back in the ring could be magic. Not that it hasn't already been. One thing I loved here too is that first of all, they throw back to May Valentine with Aron Stevens in the back. It was cool just to see some more of our NWA family, our hashtag NWA fan back there, just chatting it up. And Aron Stevens, I'll give him this. He cuts a hell of a promo. I don't know where he finds half of the stuff that he says, but it is very nice. The next matchup is surprisingly another women's matchup, which I thought was really impressive. The Australian CC Chanel versus Ruby Reyes, the equal opportunity ass kicker. And they did a lot of more build-up in this. Now, I don't want to get in trouble here for saying anything wrong, but this might actually have been my favorite of the two women's matches, honestly, if I throw it out there. There were things in this one I liked. There was more build-up from the commentators, talk of camps, the Santino brothers thing that Ruby Reyes is actually a trainer over there. But just great stuff. I mean, the story of the match is essentially that Ruby's just too powerful. CC's having to work around that, and she's a firecracker, man. She keeps coming, and she keeps beating on her, keeps fighting back, keeps bouncing back, but just can't keep her down. It's just never quite enough, and then eventually the power just overtakes her, and Ruby Reyes puts her down for the 1, 2, 3. But I thought overall, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's just definitely, it was just a compact, basic, just good, solid wrestling match, I thought, between these two girls. And I'm a fan of both of them after seeing them here. I want to see what else they got. I mean, even though Ruby Reyes went over and she looks just like a powerhouse and that she should be a threat. CC Chanel just had I loved her facial expressions and just like her attitude in the ring. So I definitely want to see more out of her as well. Will, how did you feel about these two?
I'm with you. I thought it was a great match. Ruby Reyes was powerful, very convincing. It was a convincing win. This match was very vocal. There was one point in it where I could have dealt with a little less of the vocalization and the shouting and screaming and stuff. But I mean, it was believable. If Ruby Reyes is pulverizing you the way that she was to CC, I would have been vocalizing like that too. So at the same time, it's believable. I think that both of these women put on a great match. I see somebody in the chat, Allysin Kay versus Ruby Reyes would be money. Robert Bennett in the chat. I agree with that. And that was actually a thought that I had while I was watching it. I was like, man, I kind of wish we had kind of switched these up a little bit, but maybe that's something we'll get down the line. But that's just the cool thing about this show, Primetime Live. We're getting introduced to a lot of people that we haven't seen before. And there's just so much great talent out there in the wrestling world that is underexposed, untapped. And this match was another example of that, where I'm like, man, obviously coming off the heels of Mission Pro, Hell Hath No Fury, we saw a stacked card there where just top to bottom full of incredible women wrestlers. And then we saw two matches tonight with four women who deserve to have that exposure and more. So I couldn't be happier for, like you said, back-to-back women's matches. The fact that we have to even talk about that is a problem, that's so abnormal for that to happen. I think it should happen a lot more. And I thought it was great. I thought it was a great decision from booking to put those matches back to back. It was just a nice touch, I thought. And those two matches there back to back was a bright spot in the card for me tonight.
Absolutely. I think, the more women's wrestling, the better. I think that it should be as essential to the show and to the storytelling as anything else should be. And a lot of times there's a lot more passion and athleticism there too, with these women. And I would say that we all, the three of us, have known about Ruby Reyes and are more familiar with her. I didn't know much about CC Chanel. In the last month, I've become a fan. Really, in the last 2 weeks, I've become a fan of three women that now I'm committed to following, and one of them is CC Chanel. I love her look. I love her athleticism. I think she'd really make a remarkable heel, almost like kind of a snarky, overprivileged heel and that kind of thing. I think she's great. I've become a big fan of Nicole Savoy after tonight, and then Rachel Rose from my queen, Rachel Rose from Hell Hath No Fury. Man, these three women, I'm going to be watching them with a lot of interest.
Well, and your wife is going to be watching you now a little
She's off. Dude, why you got to look, man? She off the bed. We're just amongst friends right now, man. This is a circle of trust.
Circle of trust right here. What is it though? What do you think it is that? This is a side note here, and I guess this is a good place for me to say that if you haven't already, make sure you hit like and subscribe. We're going to try to wrap this pay-per-view up with just us talking. We'll throw to the chat a little bit and go into it with you guys here, so stick with us. But we're going to talk about, I think right after this match, the biggest roller coaster of events, I think, for the whole pay-per-view. But what do you think it is? My question about women's wrestling is, you've got one company that I feel like was on the cusp of doing something with women's wrestling, and then AEW, who they definitely suffered injuries and that sort of thing, but they've been criticized for not being able to get it together as far as that goes, and that's part of the reason Thunder Rosa's being brought in over there with Sheeta and that sort of thing. But it doesn't seem like it's for lack of available people, because we've seen Mission Pro Wrestling, which was a fire show, and then just tonight, two back-to-back women's matches. It ain't no thing, and it's not like they were doing them a favor. Like, they were two matches that absolutely deserved to be on the card and were good and solid matches. Like, I don't, what's the problem?
Yeah, I'm the same as you, especially after the past, 14 days, just all the incredible women's matches and events. Obviously looking at Hell Hath No Fury, and I think about AEW, and we make excuses a lot of times. And I know this isn't an AEW podcast, and this is a little off topic, but you brought it up. But like, we've had that excuse in our head. Well, they had injuries, and they had this, and they had that, and they were trying to bring some ladies over from Japan and kind of do that. But now, from what I've been exposed to over the past 14 days, exactly like you just said, I'm like, the talent is out there. And if you really even try to go look for it, and you've got the deep pockets that a Tony Khan has, your women's division should be stacked top to bottom with some of these ladies that we've been talking about for the past 2 or 3 weeks. So for me, it's just either it's an afterthought, which is really unfortunate and a huge loss on their part, or, there's some kind of business thing that we don't listen. We've never run a wrestling promotion, the three of us, yet. We might one day. That'd be pretty cool. But, we don't really know all the workings and all the things that go on the business side of things, especially when you got TV deals and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not acting, like an expert on that. But to me, it's either, they're just not looking because they don't care, or there's some kind of, business decision that's prohibiting them from pulling in all this incredible talent that exists, and they're just sitting there waiting for the visibility and the exposure.
Yeah, this is kind of a question that I would like nerd out to, because this is kind of one of my areas of specialized study when we talk about sociology and social dynamics and how slowly things move when it comes to cultural trends and that kind of thing. I think part of it is that historically women's wrestling was treated as either a curiosity, or it was treated as women were treated just as eye candy, and they weren't taken seriously as athletes. And that's changed dramatically in the last decade and a half. And it's taken some time for the culture to catch up, and it will catch up, and it's starting to. I think no one's going to look at Thunder Rosa or Allysin Kay or, Hikaru Shida or Rhea Ripley and say that these aren't credible athletes. Whatever they look like. Now, just to give you an example, and I hope if this person's in the chat, and I can't remember quite who it was, I'm not trying to make this a debate topic or anything, but we witnessed a phenomenal match last week between Priscilla Kelly and Thunder Rosa. And I was really it bummed me out that a lot of the discussion in the chat was about like Priscilla Kelly's outfit. I'm like, really? I don't freaking care, man. I'm sitting here watching with my wife, and I'm seeing two women leave it all on the mat. And I think just, culturally, we've got some catching up to do. But this is where there's an opportunity for guys like Brian Rosa and Thunder Rosa, who are going out there and pioneering an all-women's promotion and showcasing some of the best talent, and it's being taken seriously. Like, people are tuning in to see this, and it's making ripples. And obviously it's going to take time for the money to catch up and for like the TV deals and that kind of stuff, but it'll come. It just, it's like the great apologist Francis Schaeffer said that pop culture is about 20 years behind philosophy normally, where we're at epistemologically in society and whatnot. So
it ain't a podcast if Rob don't use epistemology or something.
Seeing the outworking of that, and you get what I'm saying. It's like the advances that we make on an intellectual level, it takes time to trickle down to the culture and to feel its impact, and we're seeing that now. So I think we're really living in what's going to be. Now, you think in the history of wrestling, women's wrestling, the great women's wrestlers that have ever been, from Mildred Burke, the legend herself, to Bambi, to the Fabulous Moolah, to Wendy Richter, to Allysin Kay, to, all these names. And there's a whole host of names. For many years, this talent was obscured by the fact that they were a curiosity and weren't considered on the par with men's wrestling and all that. But that's changed. I don't think that most of us accept that anymore. And now we're seeing that the trappings of that catch up to it. So it's just a matter of time. And you'll see and again, one of the things that we mentioned about Mission Pro was like nobody was on an agenda. They weren't on some kind of like, neo-feminist agenda to bury men's wrestling and all this stuff. I mean, heck, I helped put chairs up at the end. No one's about that. Brian Rosa, even though this is a women's promotion, Brian Rosa is very much at the heart of this. I mean, he's supporting his wife to accomplish this mission. They're just trying to showcase talented athletes. That's all they're trying to do. And I think anybody who's a fan of good wrestling can get behind that, and we're really going to.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see the trans. Oh, go ahead, Will. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I think, talking about it being a curiosity, a lot of that goes back to the presentation. This could be a whole chicken or egg argument. Is it presented like a curiosity or, because, and then now people perceive it that way, or because people perceive it that way, they present it that way. That's a whole debate. But I think a lot of it, in my opinion, has to do with the way it's been presented. And so when you look at a show like Hell Hath No Fury, it's not presented that way. This is presented like a wrestling show, and every match just happens to be all females. And you're seeing more and more of that. And even in the mainstream promotions, WWE, AEW, you're seeing a lot more of that. And hopefully because of that, some of those barriers can break down. Because, I mean, guys, we're not that far removed from the WWE Divas title that was a butterfly. Like, you don't really get any more, like, stereotypical and kind of, I mean, that they couldn't have honestly conceived that and thought this is going to be well respected, right? And that's no shade on anyone who held that title or anything like that. I'm just saying from a creative and a presentation standpoint, it's been very much tongue in cheek, that kind of stuff. Oh, here's the divas. And so I think we're finally getting away from that. But again, we're not that far removed from that at this point in time. And so it's going to take a little more time, but I'm encouraged by what we're seeing now and the things that we are the strides that we are taking in women's wrestling right now. And my hope would be that when my kids grow up and watch wrestling, because I'm going to make them be wrestling fans, that they're not going to be having this conversation, hopefully. So I think we're on the right path.
I think you're right, man. And again, yeah, this is obviously a huge topic we could spend all day unpacking, and we're trying to do the UWN show, so it's my fault for even trying to make you guys Cliff Notes your detailed thoughts on this. But excellent work, though. You guys nailed it. All right, so well, here we go. Let's talk about this next matchup. It was a bonus matchup, just came in out of nowhere. You could tell from the hot mics there at the end that Todd Kennelly and Alyssa Marino and folks were saying, I don't even think they were aware of it. They said, good job adjusting on the spot. I heard them saying that, like with the bonus match. I don't know. Whereas in episode 1, they were short on time. Maybe in this one, they were going a little short. And so you had Jack Cartwright and Robert Baines come out. And listen, I don't who's going to be the bad guy?
I want to do it. I want to be the bad guy.
Rob's the heel.
I'm the guy that insulted the gentleman Jervis on here, and I apologize, and I'm going to be more open minded about that. But come on, man. I mean, this is not the place for this. It's not the place for it. First of all, we got a guy out there doing triple endings and combining with, and no doubt his athleticism, no doubt. I couldn't get beyond the patent leather black tights and the tilt-a-whirls and whatnot. And then we had the doggone the Shockmaster come out. Heck, I mean, I mean, let's just say it, man. We had the Cockmaster come out looking like a guy out of the freaking worst S&M shop in the world, coming in it was just atrocious, man. It was a joke. I mean, the best thing that I can say about this, and now I'm gonna let you tell the Manscaped. I'm gonna let you segue into that, but I'd say the redeeming quality about this is that Cartwright was very athletic. He did things in that ring that I could never do. So I'm not here to insult him. I did not like the freaking Bane gimmick. I think it was silly. I think it obviously evoked Shockmaster memories, which all of us, for all of us who are in it, man, it's like that's a freaking punchline. So you're setting yourself up for criticism. There's no need for that. I mean, if You're obviously a big dude. You've got some power. It was silly. It has no place on a show showcasing Trevor Murdoch and Allysin Kay. We said the same thing last week. There might be a place for that, and there is a place for that. The world is big enough, but we're trying to celebrate and enjoy prize fight wrestling, and that was not it.
It was weird, man. You're not the only one who thought that. I mean, I think that was my first thought, and we run a Discord. You guys can join for wrestling discussion, and it immediately, as soon as he walks out, Shockmaster was boom, 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 Shockmaster. Just everywhere. Like, I saw it on Twitter. I saw it everywhere. I don't know how you don't think that's what you're going to get when you're dressed that way. And obviously he's going to get the Vader comparison. I can see that too. And I suppose that's the one you'd want more. But I don't know, man. I wasn't feeling this one. What Rob was referencing, just so everybody knows, I can't say who. We did receive a message at some point during the show to us to say that clearly this gentleman was not sponsored by Manscaped.com, but we are. And if you want to take care of yourself, go to Manscaped.com right now and using code NWAPOD. You can get 20% off and free shipping. Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has spent 18 months developing the best ball hair trimmer around, and I'm sure it would shave your back or any of the places that there were hair for this gentleman. No, I'm not going to body shame the guy. Actually, the thing I was going to say about him, Harry's just a thing, because I love me some George Animal still, but he was obviously serious in the ring. Like, I mean, his approach to it was serious. It felt like, so it was a little confusing to me too. It felt like, just being honest, it felt like just mishandled.
Man, you're so right.
Attire.
So right. I mean, they could obviously perform. It's like somehow somebody sold him on this gimmick, and that's all anybody's talking about. They're not talking about what happened in the ring, other than the tilt-a-whirls and the whirly-birds and the Scandinavian two-toe gradunzas and all that were thrown in there. They're talking about the freaking mask. It was just ridiculous, man. I mean,
yeah. Will, you're awfully silent over there, and I know we've been going off, so it's your turn. Tell us what you thought. If it was match of the night for you, don't hold back. We pass no judgment. Everybody's entitled to what they like.
No. I just like in situations like this to sit back and let Rob tell it, because he just tells it so good. So,
well, I just like it because eventually the world's going to go back to normal, and we're all going to be in places with all of these people at some point, and I like knowing that they're going to go after Rob first.
Exactly.
So is that it? Is that all you had, Will?
Oh, he's got more. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh. Nah. I'm gonna let it rest there. I don't want to dig it. No. I'm probably gonna lose my job tomorrow. But
that's what happens.
Yeah.
Why? Because you said Scandinavian two-toe gradunza?
Nah, because I said cockmaster.
Is that frowned upon in your profession?
Yeah. But of course, all my kids are in bed now, so they should be watching the show anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, there it is. At Cockmaster on Twitter. Good.
I'm sure that's already taken.
You're probably right. All right. So the match of the night, the reason we're all here, of course, we got to talk about Trevor Murdoch versus Aron Stevens for the NWA National Championship. Some great build-up for this one. We've been waiting for this one for a long time. It was supposed to take place at the 2019 Crockett Cup. Of course, that could not happen. Wait, 2020 Crockett. When was that? I don't even remember anymore. And the Crockett Cup, the last one.
2020.
It was good. Yeah,
January.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So we didn't get that match then, but we got it now. And to me, it lived up to the hype. It was everything I thought these two guys would have. And it was everything I wanted Aron Stevens to do, first of all. I just want to give that man all the props in the world. You're dressed just like him, so just trying to put myself over with you too, Rob. But it just, I don't know. It was a wild battle. Went outside a little bit. Stevens just getting tossed around by Trevor Murdoch, which is what you expect. But then it eventually gets to that point that we get to see a side of Stevens we haven't really seen before. He gets thrown into the wall, and he's laying there, and Trevor goes to get him, but Stevens blinds him with the light and kicks him in the leg and then kicks him in the balls, and then completely switches gears. And the commentary team's right on top of that, telling that story as it's happening. So I thought this was a great maybe not everybody would agree with me, but I thought it was just a great NWA title match and just what you want out of this. Stevens just beating on Trevor, choking him with the belt, getting that heel heat. The referee was a little questionable because he just couldn't tell that belt was wrapped around Trevor's neck at any point. And even Trevor's leg was under the rope, I noticed at certain points. And I was like, well, god dang. I mean, even his leg's under the rope, ref. And so just not trusting the ref. But Trevor ends up coming back with a spine buster. Hits a freaking flying body press, this guy. Trevor Murdoch don't look like he'd hit a flying body press. And anyway, Murdoch ends up with a hurt leg. Steven capitalizes. I thought that was for sure going to be the key to victory for Stevens, and he would retain in this one because he just starts working that knee. But this, besides that being the cool part of him that he showed a side we never really got to see on Power, it just ends up Trevor Murdoch just catching him at one point. He does it really. The move he does is the first person I think of when I see this move is Nick Aldis, because I've seen him win this. Like he won it NWA 70 against Cody Rhodes. He got the third pinfall this way. He got Flip Gordon this way, if I'm not mistaken, at Hard Times. But Trevor just falls on him, gets that 1, 2, 3, and new national champion Trevor Murdoch, the Redneck Wrecking Crew, and sells it with a great speech afterwards too, thanking his kids and for putting up with the shit. He did it. He's just happy. Looks like he can barely hold in his emotions. Will, you were real quiet this last time around, so how are you feeling getting your first I don't know what happened to Rob just now, but
I was boycotting this segment.
So just to make Rob swim in it for a little bit longer, how'd you feel about Trevor Murdoch becoming our new NWA National Champion?
Unexpected for me, and I love that. I love that the outcome was unexpected. The finish was unexpected. It was a surprise. I love stuff like that.
Well, yeah, because this is the first title change on UWA, we should say too.
Well, and that's what I was going to say going into tonight. There was 2 title matches: the Heritage Tag Team titles and the NWA National title. And I had that thought. I was like, man, we are on pay-per-view number 3 and no title changes. We've had a title match every week, an NWA title match every week. And so, as the match went on, I softened up a little. I just kind of assumed that it wouldn't, and maybe I've been programmed from the last 2 weeks to think that. And so I was very pleased with the outcome, not only because I love Trevor Murdoch and I think no one deserves it more than him, and just his genuine emotion when he won. I mean, I really felt what he was feeling in the ring. I mean, when the ref went to hand him the belt, held it out with both hands, and he just kind of looked at it almost bewildered. Like, is this real? Is this really mine? I really felt that, and I thought that was, such a feel-good moment for us as NWA fans. It was a great title change. It was a great, again, like I said, a great finish, a great surprise finish. The match itself, I thought, was really well executed. I'm gonna butter Rob up a little bit here. For all the criticisms and all the people out there that say things about Aron Stevens, Mongrovian karate and all that, you can't watch that match, or really any Aron Stevens match, but particularly the match we just saw tonight, not recognize that Aron Stevens is a world-class professional wrestler. And he further validated himself to me and I think all of us tonight. Having dropping the belt to Trevor Murdoch is nothing to hang your head about. That dude's a slobber knocker. He's a fighter. And it was a well-fought match. I like the outcome, and I was happy with the NWA match that we got tonight.
Yeah. Rob, before I throw it to you, I just want to establish, I too thought the world of Aron Stevens. I made that little video on our tweet that I put out on our Instagram. I wanted to highlight some of the more serious side of Aron Stevens that we got to see as we were going into Crockett Cup, because I saw this different side of him, and I wanted to see him show that in the ring, and I'm glad they still followed up on that. He did it in this match. Like, he was vicious. Like, he acted like he wanted to win that belt or keep the belt, and it meant something. And that was the stuff I always worried about, that you often worry about with like comedy style acts, or like when people get too comedic. But like Will said, there's this other side of him that's a world-class athlete. Now, I can't build you up that much without tearing you down a little. If I can make you feel like a heartless bastard, if you're still going to side with Aron Stevens. I mean, what was really cool for me also was Trevor, literally like a couple of weeks ago, had been people, like, he responded to someone saying, like, a lot of people have been asking how I'm doing. Well, I lost my job to COVID. So I can't get any bookings. And so just making ends meet. I'm just doing what I can, just facing forward and keeping moving and all this stuff. And to see, so it's like that part of him's out there, and then this to come around, and now he's the NWA National Champion. So Trevor, your booking fee just went up. You've got a job, and the national title feels like it's got a lot of cool places it could go from here. So Rob, I just had to build you up to let you down so that you could go ahead and take it from here. How are you handling? How is the nation of Monrovia handling this loss?
Well, I'm not going to come in here and cry over spilt milk or make excuses. I'm not going to bring up the fact that Aron Stevens said that he, had 101-degree fever going into this. I'm not going to bring up the fact that he was basically exiled out of country and was obviously jet lagged. I'm not going to bring up the fact that his sensei wasn't here. I'm not going to bring up the fact that Trevor Murdoch obviously tried to use the world's longest third-degree black belt to get Aron Stevens disqualified. I'm not going to bring up any of those facts here. I'm not going to bring up the fact that, Aron Stevens has been on hard times too since COVID. I saw Trevor Murdoch standing before the image of his burnt down trailer that I guess was.
I'm sure he was real happy that they just like threw that behind him.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
I was like, man,
like, here, just stand in front of this green screen and we'll make it look cool. And then he probably someone's like,
yes, for like ours,
he
man.
was last week, and he was like, Eli Drake got like bright lights and neon stuff.
The Real Money Brothers just had cash raining behind them.
Trevor Murdoch gets the burned down trailer. Like a meth lab just exploded inside of it. It just,
I'm not going to bring up any of those facts that the greatest national champion of all time was basically. No, I'm kidding. In all seriousness,
I didn't know if you were going to try to sell that or not.
In all seriousness, man, I think the world of Aron Stevens. I think that I feel very bad that his reign as national champion will be the COVID reign, that he didn't get to defend it more often, and that this feud couldn't have been more protracted. And maybe it will be. Maybe we'll see rematches, and maybe Aron will get another shot at it, because he really is, whether I'm here wearing a Mongrovian karate gi or not. We must, if we're going to be honest, we have to acknowledge that Aron Stevens is a fantastic and a world-class competitor. He is. There's no denying it. Trevor Murdoch deserved this championship, and he is someone who needed that break. This is one that's going to elevate him, and it's setting his career in the right motion. And obviously, there's only one place to go from here, and that is to Nick Aldis. That's it. So this instantly raises him to main event status. You're right, his booking fee has increased. He now has a job. All those that time of hardship is behind him now, and it couldn't happen to a better guy. My hat's off to him. All the respect in the world. I was rooting for my guy, the shooter, Aron Stevens, tonight, but you can't fault a man for going out there and putting it on and winning. And I congratulate him on behalf of myself and the Mongrovian people. I'm not Mongrovian. I earned my third degree through the correspondence program that they had, and it's a rigorous 1-month program. But the cassette tapes and all that. But Trevor Murdoch, man, well deserved. I mean, I think he's one of the most beloved. He's up there with when you talk about beloved personalities, he's up there with Thunder Rosa right now as being just beloved by the NWA community. And it's not because of anything flashy or flamboyant. I mean, it's because he just grinds it out. I mean, people identify with him. He makes no bones about being a blue-collar guy. He's got that Dick Murdoch, Dusty Rhodes appeal, obviously trained by Harley Race. He's just a tough guy, a brawler, and everybody wants to see a guy like that succeed, and he did tonight, so I applaud him. I'd be the first to shake his hand and congratulate him on this championship. So
I think that's one of my big takeaways from this one, too. One thing I really loved about it, I get the appeal of having heel champions a lot of times, and it seems like, I guess, all of our champions, well, depending on how you feel about Zicky Dice, all of our champions in the NWA are faces right now. As far as that goes, I don't know. It's hard to say. I guess what I'm thinking is I was trying to look at the lay of the land as it is right now. And as far as those singles titles go, I think that we're at a really good spot in the NWA that you have a guy like Nick Aldis as the world's heavyweight champion, this distinguished elite professional wrestler, holding the world's title. And then Trevor Murdoch as the working man's champ, that guy is the national champion. And I think it's going to bring a new light to that title. And obviously, Aron Stevens could do that, but Aron Stevens, not to speak too much about behind the scenes, I guess, but a lot of people know that he's doing a lot of booking work in championship wrestling from Hollywood right now, and so that I'm sure that leads into UWN stuff. So he's got other stuff going on in his life. So Trevor Murdoch, I feel like can lend something to the national title that maybe it hasn't had in the last little while. And then, of course, Thunder Rosa, who's the hardest working professional wrestler in the business, I think, right now. So, just those three alone, you're all right, the NWA, say what you will about you want power back or wherever it should be or could be, that they're in a good spot with their core base of wrestlers, I think. They've got some really solid talent there and can keep it alive for sure. Got a little preview for next week. I missed Max Caster's facing someone. I apologize. I totally missed that matchup. And so somebody could probably correct us in the chat. Levi Shapiro versus Brian Idol. And what I assume is the main event. It was really the last thing they mentioned. Zicky Dice is back. Zicky Dice, the TV champion, will be back with a mystery partner taking on Pope and Watts. So Pope jumping back in the ring, teaming up with Watts. We're getting Watts crossing over with a lot of NWA talent here, so that's going to be interesting. And Zicky Dice, who knows? Who knows who that mystery person is going to be? Guys, we're going to take probably got about 15 here we can give before everybody goes to bed. So if you got stuff you want to talk about in the chat, questions, answers, whatever, topics, let's bring them up. Let's discuss them. And we'll start throwing to you guys just to see what's on your mind. And I'll scroll back up a little bit, but if I miss you, just repeat it. Rob's gone. Wrestling with the MMA wants to know, how did Stinson get cassettes for his correspondence course? They gave me recording tubes. So that's a good question.
Unfortunately, Rob is gone.
Yeah, I think, I see the discussion about the heels and faces thing. I brought that up before realizing, we're getting into dicey territory. No offense. No pun intended. Dice is a heel, as Roscoe points out, but also Murdoch, Storm, and Drake are faces. I think wrestling with the MMA is this is not a face. Yeah, I said that, and then I was realizing it as I was saying, so I got thrown off. It's not all faces. They've got a good mix here. Derek saying Murdoch would make a good heel as well as a face. Yeah, Murdoch notoriously has been a heel for most of his career. I think he's just too darn lovable now.
Hey, Gary. Before we forget, I did want to plug. I see Brian Rosa asking about women's matches next week. I did want to plug the next Mission Pro event, which was originally scheduled for October 30th, but has been moved to November 6th. This is another historic event. It is the Tournament Out of Hell. This will be the crowning of the first ever Mission Pro champion, and yours truly will be there. Tickets purchased, flights booked, hotel booked. I'm going to be there representing the podcast. Wouldn't want to miss this. And but anyway, just so you know, that had been advertised as an October 30th event, but that has been changed to November 6th. If you guys can get out there, it's not. I mean, it's very, it's very worth it if you can, find the resources to get out there and find the time. Probably time is probably a bigger deal for a lot of you, but I can't wait to be back there in Buda, Texas at Pinball's Kingdom and seeing some of the great wrestling in the world there at Mission Pro.
Agreed. Brendan saying ultimately face heel alignment is less important to me than the champs, or if the champs are believable. All of the NWA champs are. Yeah, totally agree with that. I think that's ultimately, you just condensed everything I was trying to say into a nice couple of sentences there. So thank you, Brendan. Yeah, Brian Rossi, you mentioned looking for the women's match next week. Yeah, nothing announced, but they've been pretty good about peppering some things out over time to leading into next week. So I assume we'll probably see something. Do you think NWA and MLW could have done good crossovers? I mean, I think NWA could do crossovers with anybody, I suppose. So I don't see why not. Right? Yeah. I mean, technically, it's happening right now, right? Like Hammerstone's an MLW champion, and I, for A, love taking any time I can to talk about Hammerstone, and B, he's been at UWN along with the NWA. So there you go.
Of the NWA. I mean, you have to remember that, and we can't pound that in enough. The nature of the NWA is to do cross-promotional stuff. They always have, even before the pandemic. I mean, Nick Aldis was engaged in a really what was going to be and probably will resume to be an epic feud with Marty Scurll, and he was going in and raiding Ring of Honor events. You've got Thunder Rosa headlining the Mission Pro event. I mean, the nature of the NWA is to do crossover stuff. It's what we call, and I was so proud. I hope James Lawrence is still in the chat, because we witnessed a debate that he was in, and we didn't involve ourselves in it ourselves because it was fun to see some of the NWA fam, out there slugging it out on behalf of the NWA. But James Lawrence mentioned the point that we make often, and that is the NWA is what we call a meta promotion. You got physics, and then you have metaphysics. You've got an analysis, then you have a meta-analysis, something that's over that. And the NWA is not like any other promotion in the world. It is by its very nature, since its inception, even before 1948, it has been the promotion that will cross state lines, international lines, continental lines, promotional lines. It does not matter. Whoever holds the Burke or the 10 pounds of gold is the real world champion. And obviously, whatever promotion you're going to want to be in, regardless of what rinky-dink title you hold, that's the one you want. And the proof is that guess where the original 10 pounds of gold is hanging at right now? Just guess. It's hanging in the headquarters of the WWE. That's how much they respect it. So,
Brendan say Bloodsport's going to be fun for fans of women's wrestling. We've been talking about Bloodsport, Brendan, on I think on Sunday. We talked about it a good bit, and I'm definitely excited to see that one. I'd really like to get a hold of that one this year. Yeah, he mentions Allysin Kay and Lindsay Snow are going to be there. I am petitioning that they just make them fight each other. That's really the way to go, I think. Wrestling MMA thinks Aldis and Dice would be an interesting matchup. You're not kidding, buddy. That it would be. Yep. Max Caster is facing Dirty Dickinson next week, so that's who it was. So thank you, Scooby, for that. Appreciate that. let's see here. Hammerstone versus Aldis. Who you got? Oh, that's
That's to you, Gary.
Yeah, I mean,
Will,
I have to
speak for Will. We got Galdus on that one.
because, well, listen, if I rep the NWA first and foremost. That's whose shirt I have on right now. So I'll lean over to Aldis, but I feel like it's one of those fights where, like, the first second they go in for a lockup, like right when they do it, like literal windows will shatter and there'll be a crack in the middle of the ring, and so they might have to just call the match. So that's probably what would happen.
Or you would just pass out and you'd miss the whole match.
I just miss it. I think you three on the NWA pod should do a Hot Wings challenge. That would be funny. There's a video for you.
Yeah. I would not fare well in that one.
You could have tuned in on Sunday's show that I don't know what kind of train wreck Sunday show was, but yeah, Rob was eating hot wings the whole time, so could have caught that.
Oh my gosh, man. I
didn't even try to upload that one to the podcast feed. If anybody was wondering, because I was just like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, I'm just
we
here. We got 3 or 4 minutes with Luke Gallows. We got Dave.
Where did that happen?
on the Facebook live stream. You talking about the live?
I was like, not on the show I was on.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about my live stream before the eat and greet. That's definitely.
That was when you were still sober.
You need to upload that, man.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were going to mention Sunday night, but apologies again to everyone who was there with us. We just kind of chalked that one up as a loss, and we move on. And
look, man, if you can have Dave Marquez,
I heard good.
Much like Aaron,
heard good things from people that they enjoyed how spontaneous it was, but I think it was like you had to be there kind of thing.
Man, I got the video from the live stream before, man, too. That really I think is a gem. Not because it's me, but because it's we get Dave Pinzer in there, like giving his thoughts on Aldis and Thunder Rosa, which were all positive and right what we would think somebody who's a living legend would think. But it was good to just see him and just to be that close to him, share a chicken wing with him, and talk about Nick Aldis and Thunder Rosa. That was pretty cool. And then, of course, Luke Gallows chiming in and a couple other people. But yeah, I thought Sunday night was fun. That and the show afterwards, regardless of the
Brian Rosa said we should get Marty Bell or Ashley Vox next week. That would be fun to see. Or maybe Lindsay Snow. Rob would order the pay-per-view like 3 times.
Heck yeah.
Let's see here. Lindsay Snow and Jack Stain both announced for SWE Fury. I think I saw that. I don't like this comment. I mean, I do and I don't. Even after Thunder Rosa leaves the NWA, I'll keep watching This Is the NWA podcast. It's from Brian Rosa. Brian, you toyed with my heart, man. What are you doing? I mean, we'll just have to do a This Is the Thunder Rosa podcast.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't imagine we wouldn't keep covering whatever she's doing. So I don't think that would be an issue.
Yeah. What night is the 3-hour Hammerstone tribute show? Maybe next Sunday, depending on how much I drink.
Every night if you're if you're Gary's wife.
Let's see.
Well, so clever, man. He good, boy. Real good.
Oh man, we got a few more minutes here. Roscoe's asking, should Trevor Murdoch be #1 contender for the world title shot? I would say, and I can't speak for Doc, but if I was Doc Stinson, I would say he is the #1 contender for the world title shot. So it's not even really a question.
Right. Remember,
it's already happened.
Yes, contendership. When we talk about contendership, it's not a subjective matter of like what your opinion of a contendership is a position that you earn, and it just so happens that in the NWA, historically, one of 2 titles dictated that position. It was either the national title or the U.S. title. We don't have the U.S. title anymore. The national championship makes you the #1 contender. So yes, Trevor Murdoch now, when the sun rises tomorrow, he should be setting his sights on two people. One, granting Aron Stevens his well-deserved entitled rematch. And then after that, after getting that business out of the way, if he were to survive that, then he needs to focus on gearing up and preparing himself to the challenge of his life, and that is to challenge for that 10 pounds of gold. Otherwise, why are you in business?
I think it would be appropriate for Aron Stevens for the rematch to talk about his injuries and things like that, and because of that, he's going to have his stunt double actually fight the match for him, which of course would be Dr. Rob Stinson. And so it would be you and Trevor Murdoch, and that's what I would pay to see.
I would love to have that on the YouTube channel. I'd love to make all the GIFs of that match and everything, just of every time Trevor Murdoch threw Rob Stinson.
When he was cutting his backstage promo and he had his back turned, I thought to myself, I haven't talked to Rob all day today. I'm not sure if he's out of town. I don't know. And then he turned around. I was like, okay, it's really him. So you just never know.
Oh, man. Brendan, you got a good question in there about who Aldis and Rosa should eventually drop the titles to. That's a question we run through all the time. I mean, that's a tough one. There's lots of contenders out there. And, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know right offhand who just really stands out as the people. Obviously, to me, for Thunder Rosa, if I gun ahead, I'd go Allysin Kay. You just trade it back with Allysin Kay, or Lindsay Snow maybe, or something like that would be an interesting choice. But as far as Aldis, Hammerstone, duh. Do you guys have anybody that stands out for you for that?
Go ahead, Will.
Brock Lesnar. I'm just kidding. No, nobody. There's nobody right now. I mean, Mike Bennett, and I don't mean this disrespectfully. That was a long shot, but it was built up really well and it was believable. As of right now, there's not anybody in the picture that I could see as a genuine threat to the real world's champ.
Yeah.
As far as Thunder Rosa goes, that's tough, man. I mean, there's so many talented women out there that we haven't even tapped yet. I mean, we've seen Lindsay Snow, we've seen Priscilla Kelly. Both of those could be in the picture. I think they should be in the picture. Allysin Kay obviously is in the discussion, and then there's the talent out there that we haven't even really, that we're not even considering, like a Big Swole or a La Rosa Negra or somebody like that. Gosh, it's tough, man. I don't see anybody currently other than Allysin Kay that strikes me as someone that's. I just don't know about her, man. That scene is way too crowded at the top, and that's not a bad thing. It just means that we're living in a very vibrant period in women's wrestling. As far as Aldis goes, I don't think that the book has been closed on Mike Bennett. I think Mike Bennett's there, and I think he's still hungry, and I think we saw the respect after the match, and Aldis saying that him giving the acknowledgement after the match was over. I think that you got Eli Drake in there, who's obviously held world caliber championships before, and certainly could be in that mix, could slide in very easily. I don't see anybody beating Nick Aldis for a long time, but if someone were to force me and say who the next champion would be, who's going to be the one that's going to get the win, it'd have to be, probably for me, I'd have to say Mike Bennett. Interesting choice.
So not Orange Cassidy has been brought up in the chat.
Orange Cassidy is over talented, man, but let's be real. He's a little guy. He's about my size, and I don't know. No, Orange Cassidy is not going to be taking the belt from Nick Aldis or anybody of his stature or size or any. It's going to be somebody like Mike Bennett or Eli Drake, if it ever happens, and it may not ever happen in our lifetime.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. We've had a great time talking to you all and a great time running back through UWN Prime Time Live, enjoying episode 3 of the show. Hope you guys also dug it. Let us know what you thought in the comments here on this YouTube video. Hit like, subscribe, all of those things. Let us know on Twitter, Instagram. We're at the NWA Pod on all of the places. And most importantly, let the people you saw tonight know what you thought about them. And only if it's good, though. Don't be dicks. Just, tell Alyssa Marino that you enjoyed her work. Tell Trevor Murdoch, congratulations for winning the national championship. Tell Todd Kennelly, he's a great commentator. Tell David Marquez, thanks for the show. Tell Hammerstone that you love him. He loves hearing that. You got to make sure to tell him. Will, where can people find you online?
At Hey It's Will, everywhere except TikTok. At TikTok, I am at heyitswill.com. And I will also plug our TikTok channel at the NWA Pod. Rob and I have been working together to put out some really good historical content. So if you like throwback wrestling stuff, NWA related, go follow us on there. We're going to be putting out a lot more of that kind of stuff and probably throwing in some clips of some old promos and stuff like that. It'll be a lot of fun. So come follow us over there.
Robert.
Oh, am I in trouble? I am at This Is Dr. Stinson on all of my social medias. I'm talking about on the Snack Shack, on this, whatever this is. What is this called? This is called Restring. I'm on this on. I guess, do we have Zoom too? Are we on Zoom?
Yeah, all the.
You can find me on Zoom.
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, all of it, man. MySpace, whatever. I'm on this. I'm at This Is Dr. Stinson. I'm on Roby and Facebook.
Rob, I want you to start telling. I want you to just really embrace the old guy thing and start spelling out the website addresses for all these. You can find me on Twitter at https://www.twitter. Number sign NWA fam.
Oh my God! All right, well, I'm at This Is Gary Horde on all of the things. As always, guys, we are grateful for every single one of you who joined us on this live chat stuff, and you hang out and you talk with us, and we love talking about wrestling, and especially with the hashtag NWA fam. And we've got the best community in wrestling, I think, and we look forward to talking to you guys on Sunday night. We'll be live again, and of course, covering UWN Primetime Live, episode number 4 next week. But until then, everyone, please enjoy your gravy cake.